laugh like hell. Let's have some fun doing it. That's a big part of it. But let's just don't waste any time or energy. It's all about winning. Please reflect that each and every day.
It's time for another edition of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco, joined by Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy inside Ford Center. It's the Cowboys and the Baltimore Ravens. It's a Tuesday night game, originally scheduled for Thursday night. And Coach, just to get things started here, 11 days in between games for your team. Of course, it's been a crazy season. It's been a crazy last week or so for your team, but I guess it was good to get them back out on the practice field.
Yes, definitely. The only thing that's been consistent is change. So it was good to get out on the field today, to get outside, and frankly, to have some overcast and light rain, and just to get us ready to play in Baltimore. So I really like the work today, and frankly looking forward to get into a normal work week leading up to the Tuesday game. It's never played a game on Tuesday before, but it's just like anything. It feels a lot like a bye week, just for the amount of time that our players have been off before we practiced, and you have to really be smart about how you practice after 5 days off and so forth. So it was a good start to the week.
Really, you look at not only the last 11 days or so, but also you had a bye week before playing 2 games in 5 days. I went back and looked at the calendar, and probably since the Pittsburgh game, I think I figured out that you were probably on the practice field a total of about 4 days over a 25-day period before getting back out there. How much does this team really just need to get back into the routine of practicing?
Oh, we need to practice. I think like any team that's going through what we're going through, just for the amount of change that we've had with our personnel, just the first year, no offseason, all those things that lead into it. Practice is very important for us. Every time we have a chance to get out there and get through the instruction, get through the teaching periods, and really, frankly, the most important periods, and we're still getting 3 of them during our normal work week, is our competitive periods where the offense and defense line up and go head to head, because I think it's just part of any football team coming together and playing to their strengths and playing to their identities. So practice is real important for our football team.
And of course, unique this week is you had a couple of days to start putting in a game plan for Baltimore, and then they played their game. And as a team, the team was able to watch them play live against the Steelers, a 19-14 loss to Pittsburgh. But even then, you weren't sure exactly who's going to be playing in the game next Tuesday because of what Baltimore's going through with their COVID situation.
Definitely. I can't say enough about our personnel department. They're leading the charge as far as staying on top of each player who's with part of the protocol and what their status is for the game. So that's something that we'll continue to work on during the week. But it is nice to have some extra time to prepare for the Baltimore scheme, because they're diversely different both on offense and defense. So hopefully that pays big dividends come Tuesday evening.
And let's talk about them on offense. Of course, Lamar Jackson had an MVP season a year ago, and with his ability to run the football as well as throwing it, how much does that tax the defense?
Oh, I mean, it's a triple threat. I mean, anytime you have a player of his dimensions, his ability to obviously, they still have a very good run game, his ability to pull the ball and then potentially pass it off of that action, and then potentially run it himself, and then potentially check it down to a flare. So I mean, it's a real stressor on your fits, and particularly your contain, your primary force and secondary force, all those components that have to be in line when you're playing with playing against a dynamic player like Lamar.
All right, we're just getting started on this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show. Up next, it's David Moore of the Dallas Morning News.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, is brought to you by AT&T. Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Built for Texas, built for you. The University of North Texas, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. And by Reliant, an NRG company. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like SportsDay. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco. Now joined by David Moore of the Dallas Morning News, SportsDayDFW.com. And David, of course, it's been a very unique season in so many ways, and the last week has been crazy for the Cowboys as well, with this game being delayed from Thursday until Tuesday, and what this team has gone through here in the last 10 days or so since before the Washington game. It's tough to even realize exactly what these players have been going through the last 10 days or so.
Yeah, and it starts with the unexpected death of Marcus Paul, the team's strength and conditioning coordinator. The team returned on Wednesday, the Wednesday after Thanksgiving, for the first time since that loss to Washington. But while they were back, that still wasn't the point where they turned the emotional page, because Mike McCarthy gave the team off Thursday morning to virtually attend the memorial service of Marcus Paul. And I was struck when we were talking to the players last week, especially by Leighton Vander Esch, who he said Marcus Paul took him under his wing. And it was very poignant. He talked about Marcus and their relationship really for several minutes, and continued to talk about Marcus in the present tense. And it was very clear this team was still working through Paul's death, leading up to the Baltimore game and this weekend. And different players and different people and coaches and members of this organization were at different stages as far as grieving, celebrating Marcus's life, but also they all wanted to be there with him on Thursday virtually with his family to share their experiences.
And now when they turn their attention to playing the final 5 games of this season, it's crazy to think that even at a 3-8 record, 1 game back in the NFC East. And David, really, when you look at the rivals in the NFC East and their opponents, especially the next couple of weeks, I don't see any team really distancing themselves from the rest of the pack.
No, and while I think that loss to Washington really hurt them because it allowed Washington to sweep them this season, which factors in as a tiebreaker down the road, it still only leaves them 1 game out of the division lead. And as you said, every other team in this division has some very difficult games left. We've said this a lot in 2020 and how it's unprecedented, but it's not out of the question. There's a 3-way tie at the top when this thing ends, and then you go into a Byzantine set of tiebreakers. This thing is far from over, but for Dallas to make itself relevant, it's going to have to start winning sooner rather than later. It can't wait to go down to those final 2 division games in the final 2 weeks of the season to make a move. It's going to have to come here in the next 3 weeks.
And regardless, David, who the Cowboys are playing down the stretch, the biggest thing is they've got to play better football themselves, right?
They do. You saw signs of that, I think, incrementally leading up to the close loss to Pittsburgh. You had the bye week. They came back and won their first road game in Minnesota. There's a sense that things were starting to come together then, but, injuries once again. I mean, losing Zach Martin, who was clearly your best offensive lineman, one of the best offensive linemen in the league, and Cameron Irving on that first possession. It seems every time they put themselves in a position to right themselves, they're hit by another injury or some more adversity. We'll see how these final 5 weeks play out. But they do still have a chance in this division, and it's all due to how bad this division is this season.
All right, David Moore, we appreciate it as usual. And up next here on the Mike McCarthy Show, so just how motivated will former Cowboy Dez Bryant be on Tuesday night in Baltimore?
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like SportsDay. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, continues now. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoors Studios as we get you set for Tuesday night football this week for the first time in Cowboys history. Tuesday night football against the Baltimore Ravens. And, of course, there'll be a familiar face on that Ravens sideline, one Dez Bryant. Rob Phillips tells us just how motivated Dez figures to be on Tuesday.
Let's face it. 2020 needs more stories like Dez Bryant's comeback with the Ravens. Yes, it is strange to see Dez wearing number 88 in purple. And yes, he didn't leave the Cowboys on his terms 2 years ago. Dez versus Dallas really shouldn't be about the past. It's about what Bryant has accomplished by returning to the NFL, by beating the odds, by earning a spot with the Ravens. Many thought that Dez's career had ended in 2018. 7 months after the Cowboys released him that April, he tore his Achilles tendon in practice, just 2 days into a new contract with the New Orleans Saints. To his credit, Bryant has worked his way back, first on the Ravens practice squad, then signing to their active roster 2 weeks ago. Bryant is the Cowboys' all-time leader in touchdown catches and their unofficial leader in highlight reel catches. When CeeDee Lamb made a spectacular touchdown catch against Minnesota 2 weeks ago, a lot of fans had flashbacks to Dez wearing number 88. That speaks to the moments he gave Cowboys Nation for 8 seasons.
And for me to go against a guy that I've actually watched growing up excel in this jersey number, to actually have the opportunity to play against him is definitely a huge honor on my end, and it speaks volume on his part. He definitely done a great job here, and I'm looking to continue the legacy with the jersey number.
This is our show, ride our show. T-Dub, this is our show. This is our show, all right? This is our show.
By all accounts, Bryant would have preferred to finish his career in Dallas, where he's a potential Ring of Honor pick one day. But Bryant is a good fit for Baltimore. The Ravens offense has been looking to get on track lately, and Bryant provides another option for MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson.
Actually getting to see him play again, and his comeback, that's big time. A lot of players can't do stuff like that. So to actually watch him come back, from that injury and, doing what he loves, that's pretty big.
The Cowboys have 2 inspirational comeback stories on this year's roster. Aldon Smith and Randy Gregory have faced past personal issues and past suspensions, but are rebounding with productive seasons. Dez Bryant's story coming back from injury is also one of perseverance, and we need in 2020 as many of those stories as possible. For DallasCowboys.com, I'm Rob Phillips.
All right, thanks, Rob. Up next on the Mike McCarthy Show, the coach rejoins the show, and we talk about this Ravens defense and Pro Bowl cornerback Marcus Peters. Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star, rejoined now by Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. And Coach, let's talk about your offense a little bit. Of course, in the Washington game, first series of the game, you lose Cam Irving, your left tackle, as well as your right guard, turn right tackle, Zach Martin. What's the prognosis going forward for both those guys?
Well, they're both going to be a couple weeks, so Cam's a little further ahead than Zach. So, as they continue to work through the rehab process, we'll obviously continue to work in different directions. So, but they're both making good progress.
At the top of the show, you talked about how unique Baltimore is, not only on offense but also on defense. What about preparing against this Ravens defense? And really, when you look back at the last 20 years of Baltimore Ravens defenses, they've been known for terrific defenses. I think they rank 17 of those 21 years, they rank in the top 10 in the league in defense, and this year seems to be no different.
No doubt. I mean, it's a system of defense that's been in place for, as you've stated, for 20 years. And they've done such a great job. We can't say enough about Ozzie Newsome and how they facilitated and John Harbaugh and his time there. So schematically, it's a challenge. They definitely give you plenty of variation. Changing who the primary blitzer is in the focus. Week in and week out. They play all the different defensive personnels. So you got to be in tune with who's in the game, and obviously the variation from front to coverage. So this will be a big, excellent challenge for us come Tuesday.
And, of course, it's always been an opportunistic defense as well, up there at top of the league in takeaways as well. I want to ask you about Marcus Peters. I think he's got 3 picks on the season this year, and he is a guy that can shut down one side of the field, isn't he? Oh, no doubt. I mean, we're really we go through a fundamental teaching and emphasis tape each and every week when we talk about the upcoming opponent, and this is clearly by far the best defense that we'll face in taking the football away as a defense, and Marcus Peters is having another excellent year. And this is something he's done throughout his league. I think he has 31 interceptions, and the next one closer to him is 19 in the league. So I think it shows you the impact that he's made, individually in his time in the league taking the ball away. So it's definitely a primary focus for our offense. I want to ask you about one of your defensive players, Leighton Vander Esch. Of course, he missed he missed 4 games early in the season, coming back off the injury from last year. In your first year working with Leighton, what's impressed you the most about Leighton? What I always look for is what kind of person they are as far as how they come to work, and he's the same individual every day. He brings great energy. He's totally dialed in. He wants to get better. And he's, I think coming back off the injury, you're really starting to see him come into his own. So, I mean, he's still a young player that has a lot of great football in front of him. So, love working with him. And he's had Sean Lee side by side. Now, Leighton in his 3rd year in the league, he's probably benefited greatly. Just the work ethic, the preparation habits that Sean Lee possesses. He can learn a lot sitting next to Sean Lee in a meeting room, can he? Oh, without a doubt. I think Sean Lee impacts our whole defense, frankly, our whole football team. So you can see that immediately when he was back on the practice field. He was in the meetings the whole time he was injured, but he has such great leadership ability and frankly credibility amongst our football team. So Sean is definitely an impact for our program and what we're establishing here. All right, we wrap up this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show when we come back in just a moment. Final couple of minutes here of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. And Coach, I want to ask you about head athletic trainer Jim Maurer as we wrap up the show this week. This has been such a difficult time with all the COVID protocols, everything that is going on, even going back to the off season. How much is a guy like Jim Maurer meant to getting through this entire year? Oh, we wouldn't be operating at the level of efficiency in detail if it wasn't for Jim Maurer. I mean, he is clearly, in my opinion, probably the MVP of our football operations. Just the amount of work, the time, energy, the education, the expertise, the application that he's given to not only the football team but to our families, and he does it every single day. And he's always on the clock. I mean, he's the point man as far as the conversations with the league on the conference calls, which happen quite often. So Jim's done a tremendous job in creating this environment, the COVID education as the protocols changed. He's been right at the forefront of all this and has done an outstanding job. And finally, as you got the team back together this past week, how much do you sense that this team feels like it's got something to prove, something to accomplish here the last 5 games of this season? Oh yeah, no, we're focused on beating Baltimore, and it's everybody talks about one game at a time, and clearly that's where all of our energies is poured into. We clearly understand what's going on around us, but at the end of the day, we need to win this game. I clearly believe the trials and tribulations that we've encountered throughout the season, the adversity that we've been able to push through, and the lessons that we've learned from these times will definitely will pay forward during this last run here. But everything that we're doing is poured into winning at Baltimore. All right, Coach, we appreciate it. Good luck at Baltimore, and we appreciate all of you for joining us here for the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Built for Texas, built for you. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. GEICO, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.